Hey everyone, so in my prior video I went over the Ledger Nano S. Today, let's take a look at the larger cousin of the Ledger Nano S, which is the Ledger Nano X. Let's jump into it. I'm Corey, and on this channel, I help you decode technology and innovation to grow your wealth on the journey to financial independence. Okay, so let's get into it. What is the Ledger Nano X? What are the key features and drawbacks? How much does it cost? And we'll get to my final thoughts. So here we have the Ledger Nano X in all its glory, and it's slightly larger than the Ledger Nano S that I previously covered. So who is the Ledger Nano X for? The main difference is that if you want to keep all your private keys on one device, then the Ledger Nano X is a better choice for you because the Nano S can only store up to 3 apps versus the Nano X can store up to 100 different apps, so that's different types of token wallets on the same device. As I stated in my prior video, even if you delete an app, your private keys remain safe and you could reinstall the app and your tokens will show up in the cold storage wallet. So what does the Nano X offer? The Nano X is larger than the Nano S and has a larger, easier to read screen. The Nano X comes in at 34 grams versus 16 grams for the Nano S. Now we have buttons that are on the front of the Nano X versus on the top with the Nano S. The other key feature is that the Ledger Nano X has Bluetooth, which means you can connect the device to your computer or your phone without needing a wired connection. For those that still want a wired connection, the Nano X also supports the more convenient USB Type-C standard versus the USB Type Micro B, which is not as commonly used, but is what's found on the Ledger Nano S. And this requires an adapter in most situations to connect to your phone or computer. While Bluetooth is great, it does create an additional threat area for hacking and security breaches. As a practical matter, I do not use Bluetooth with respect to any cold wallet or hardware wallet. But for those people who do want that functionality, you can know that with the Nano X, you do at least have the option to use the device with your smartphone. Depending on where you are in your digital asset journey, you may actually want to keep your tokens on the smaller Nano S devices as a security procedure to not put all of your eggs in one basket. In this way, everyone will have their own personal circumstance and level of comfort to account for when determining if the Nano X is best for their situation, or as in my prior video, if the Nano S makes more sense. In the box, we have the recovery seed phrase sheet and lanyard, the same as with the Nano S. And the recovery seed phrase sheet is for you to write down your seed phrase, which you receive after connecting the Ledger software to the Nano X or the Nano S. While you can now use Bluetooth to connect the device, as I stated previously, for security reasons, I do not think it would be best, and I stick to personally just a wired connection. But that's personal choice. Given the size of the Ledger Nano X, it is still very pocketable and easy to carry around without attracting a lot of attention. The core difference to keep in mind is that the Ledger Nano S can only hold 3 apps, as I've said previously. If you want to be able to hold many more tokens, then this Ledger Nano X is going to be the device for you because it can hold up to 100 apps at the same time. As I discussed previously, the real differentiating factor from a hardware wallet perspective between Ledger and other providers is the hardware software user interface. Ledger has really done a great job in basically creating what you think of in the App Store like user interface and feel. And this means that for the average person who's never seen crypto before, who's first time using a hardware wallet, it's gonna just be that much easier for them to get up to speed and understand how to use, connect the device, and operate the software. To be clear, just like with the Nano S, the Nano X uses the same exact software. The only difference is you're plugging in a different device. Also, as previously discussed, if you run your own node, whether it's a Bitcoin node specifically, you are able through the settings of the Ledger software to actually connect your personal node into the Ledger software. And what this allows you to do if you're a power user is to basically verify your own transactions on the blockchain using your own hardware. So what are my thoughts? I think the Nano X is great for people that are new to cold storage wallets, particularly people who have a number of different tokens that they hold and they may hold them on exchange and they're looking for sort of a one-stop shop way to get all their tokens off of an exchange into a hardware wallet in one go. The Ledger Nano X will be an easy solution because you can hold up to 100 apps or wallets for those apps on the single device. I also think that if this is your first time dealing with hardware wallets, Ledger is a great way to learn and start off, and you can always over time, as you get more comfortable and understand the technology, understand how transactions work, understand the process of moving your tokens off of an exchange and back onto an exchange, you could always decide later that you'd like to try another hardware wallet provider. Also, given that the space is still growing and evolving, it does make sense, I think, over time to experiment with other providers and see what they have in the market. You can always compare and judge against and figure out what makes the most sense for you. Personally, as I said, I think the Ledger ecosystem between the Nano X and the Ledger S are the most user-friendly products on the market that do make some trade-offs, as I've discussed. But I think at the end of the day, it's going to be, up to individuals to decide what makes the most sense for their circumstances. Do you have a Ledger Nano X or a Ledger Nano S? If so, let me know what you think about the devices in the comments below. Join me on the path to decoding technology and innovation to grow your wealth on the journey to financial independence. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and hit that notification bell. Until next time.